Your bedroom feels like the safest place in your life, the one place where nothing can reach you, where your body recovers, your brain resets, and 8 hours of rest undoes the damage of the day before. But what if I told you that 5 objects in that room, objects you have never once questioned, are working against you every single night? Not dramatically, not in ways that show up on a test or produce a symptom you can point to. Silently, consistently, night after night for years, producing a level of sleep deprivation so steady and so cumulative that you have simply accepted the results as aging. The fatigue that is still present in the morning after a full night in bed. The brain fog that makes clear thinking feel effortful before noon. The blood pressure that keeps creeping upward despite medications. The memory that is less reliable than it was 5 years ago. The joint pain that seems disproportionate to your age. In many of the patients I see over 60, these are not inevitable features of getting older. They are the measurable consequences of sleep that looks adequate on paper but is being continuously sabotaged by the environment in which it happens, every single night. I'm Dr. Jake Taylor, and today I'm going to show you 5 specific objects that science has directly linked to disrupted, shallow, non-restorative sleep, exactly what each one does to your biology while you sleep, and the precise changes, most of them free and all of them simple, that you can make tonight to reclaim the deep sleep your body was designed to have. Write your country in the comments. And before we go further, I want to say something directly. This is the kind of information your doctor should be telling you at every appointment, but doesn't. Subscribe so I can keep telling you. Let me tell you about Margaret. She was 72 and had been waking up tired for 3 years. Not occasionally tired, reliably, consistently tired, regardless of what time she went to bed or how many hours she spent lying down. She had been assessed for sleep apnea, which she did not have. She had tried melatonin supplements, which helped only marginally. 2 different physicians had told her that poor sleep was simply a normal part of aging and that the best she could do was manage her habits better. When I asked her to describe her bedroom in detail, the picture became clear within 2 minutes. Phone on the nightstand, charged all night, face up. Digital clock with glowing red numbers visible from the bed. Electric blanket left on throughout the night. A glass of water on the nightstand. A router in the hallway directly outside the bedroom door with indicator lights blinking through the gap under the door all night. Not one of these things had ever been identified as a problem. Not by Margaret, not by anyone she had seen medically. They were simply part of the bedroom. Permanent, unquestioned, assumed harmless. We made 5 specific changes, all of them free or nearly free, all of them implemented in a single evening. Within 2 weeks, Margaret described waking up differently. By week 4, she used the word refreshed, a word she said she had not associated with mornings in years. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what those 5 changes were and the biology behind why each one matters. Why your bedroom environment controls your health more than you think. Before we get to the 5 objects, you need to understand one concept that makes everything else in this video make sense. Without it, these changes look like minor adjustments to bedroom tidiness. With it, they become targeted interventions in the most fundamental biological system governing your health. Your body runs on an internal biological clock called the circadian rhythm. This clock governs virtually everything about your physiology. When you feel alert and when you feel sleepy, when your core body temperature rises and falls, when specific hormones are released and in what quantities. It operates on a roughly 24-hour cycle, and it has been calibrated over millions of years of human evolution. This clock is controlled primarily by 2 environmental signals, light and temperature. When these signals are correct, the circadian rhythm runs accurately. Melatonin, the hormone that initiates and maintains deep sleep, is produced at the right time and in sufficient quantities. Core body temperature drops to the level required for slow-wave deep sleep. The brain enters the stages of sleep where memory consolidation occurs, where the glymphatic system clears beta-amyloid proteins that accumulate toward Alzheimer's disease, where cardiovascular regulation happens, where tissue repair takes place. When the light and temperature signals are disrupted by the environment in the bedroom, the circadian clock is confused. Melatonin is suppressed or reduced. Core temperature cannot drop adequately. You spend 8 hours in bed, but wake up as if you slept 4, because in terms of restorative biological function, in many ways you did. Every object on today's list disrupts one or both of these two critical signals. They are not minor inconveniences. They are precise biological interferences with the systems your body depends on to repair itself every night. Object number 5. Your phone on the nightstand. Almost everyone keeps a phone on the nightstand. The reasons seem entirely reasonable. It is the alarm clock. It is the emergency contact point for family. It is how you reach someone in the middle of the night if something goes wrong. But the phone within arm's reach of your sleeping head is doing two specific things to your sleep biology that accumulate into serious damage over time. The first is blue light exposure. The screen of any modern smartphone emits high-frequency blue light. When this light reaches the eyes, even briefly, it signals the region of the brain that controls the circadian clock that it is daytime. Melatonin production that has been building over the evening is suppressed almost immediately. A 2014 study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that evening exposure to blue light from screens delayed melatonin onset by approximately 90 minutes, reduced total melatonin levels, and reduced next morning alertness even after a full 8 hours of sleep. That is from a single brief check of a phone screen before bed. The second mechanism is subtler but equally disruptive. Your brain, even during sleep, monitors the environment for signals of significance. A vibration, a brief screen flash, the low electromagnetic activity of an incoming notification is enough to interrupt sleep architecture at the level of slow-wave sleep and return the brain to a lighter stage. You may not wake fully, you may not remember it in the morning, but the restorative depth of the sleep cycle is broken. The solution is simple. The phone does not sleep in the bedroom. Charge it in a hallway, a kitchen, any room that is not where you sleep. If you use it as an alarm clock, replace it with an analog clock that costs almost nothing. The alarm will still wake you. The notifications will not interrupt your slow-wave sleep at 3 in the morning. Frank was 68 and had been keeping his phone on the nightstand for years, telling himself he needed it for emergencies. When he moved it to the kitchen, he discovered that nothing he had imagined requiring it for at night had ever actually happened. What did change was his sleep. Within 10 days, he described the difference as significant. "I thought the phone was just sitting there," he said. "I had no idea it was actively working against me." Object number 4, the glowing digital clock. The digital clock has been in bedrooms for decades. It seems like a perfectly neutral object. What it actually is a two-part biological and psychological problem that operates simultaneously and compounds each other. The first part is continuous light emission. Unlike the phone, which you choose to look at, the clock emits light constantly, all night, without requiring any action from you. Your eyelids are not a complete barrier to light. The pineal gland, which produces melatonin, continues to receive light signals even through closed eyes. A clock with bright numbers facing the bed or ceiling is a steady, uninterrupted suppressor of melatonin across your entire sleep period, not a one-time interference, a continuous one. The second part is what sleep medicine calls conditioned psychophysiological insomnia. When you wake in the middle of the night, as everyone does briefly between sleep cycles, the automatic response is to check the clock. The moment you read the time, a mental calculation begins. It is 3:17. I have only slept 4 hours. I need to be up in less than 4 hours. If I do not fall back asleep right now, tomorrow will be destroyed. This thought sequence triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline. Heart rate rises. Muscle tension increases. The anxiety about not sleeping makes returning to sleep biologically more difficult. The clock has transformed from a practical tool into a judge, and every glance adds to a verdict of failure. The simplest fix that produces an immediate result on the first night: turn the clock to face the wall. It will still alarm. You will not be able to check the time compulsively during the night. Without the numbers visible, the 3 in the morning awakening becomes a brief, unremarkable event rather than an anxiety spiral that costs you 2 hours. A better fix: replace it with a clock that emits no light at all, or one that only displays the time when you deliberately press a button. The goal is complete darkness. The time is irrelevant until the alarm sounds. William was 69 and had been waking between 3 and 4 most mornings for 2 years, lying awake watching the minutes pass. He turned his clock to face the wall on a Tuesday evening. By Thursday morning, he reported that his middle-of-the-night waking had not changed in frequency, but had changed completely in character. Without the numbers to calculate from, he simply returned to sleep. "I didn't realize the clock was making it worse," he said. "I thought it was just telling me what was already happening. It was actually making it happen." Object number 3, the electric blanket left on all night. For many people over 60, the electric blanket is associated with genuine comfort and pain relief. The warmth eases joint pain. It makes getting into a cold bed in winter something to look forward to rather than dread. I understand that comfort completely, and I am not asking you to give it up. But leaving the electric blanket powered on throughout the entire night is directly blocking one of the most fundamental biological requirements for restorative deep sleep. In order for the brain to enter and maintain slow-wave deep sleep, the stages where physical tissue, repair, immune function, and memory consolidation occur, the body must lower its core temperature by approximately 1 to 1.5 degrees Celsius. This thermoregulatory drop is not optional. It is a biological prerequisite for deep sleep that has been programmed into human physiology over millions of years. Think of it like a computer that can only run its deepest maintenance software when the processor has cooled to a certain temperature. The cooling is not incidental to the maintenance. It is what enables it. When an electric blanket is left on throughout the night, it creates sustained artificial warmth around the body that prevents this core temperature drop from occurring fully. The body attempts to compensate through peripheral vasodilation and sweating, but the constant heat source overwhelms these attempts. The result is that sleep cycles remain in lighter stages. The brain cannot reach the restorative depths it needs. You spend 8 hours in a warm bed and wake up unrefreshed because the repair work that requires deep sleep was not completed. The solution preserves everything you value about the electric blanket while removing the biological interference entirely. Use it to pre-warm the bed 30 to 45 minutes before you lie down. Then, before you actually get into bed, turn it off and unplug it completely from the wall. Sleep in a warm bed that is gradually cooling, which is precisely what your thermoregulatory system is designed to work with. Breathable layers of blankets that you can adjust through the night replace the electric blanket's function without the sustained heat source. Dorothy was 71 and resisted this change more than any other because the warmth of the electric blanket had become so associated with falling asleep that she could not imagine the routine without it. She agreed to a 2-week trial of the pre-warm and unplug protocol. "The first 2 nights I thought I would hate it," she told me at her follow-up. "By the 3rd night I was sleeping deeper than I had in years. I had no idea the warmth I thought was helping me sleep was actually keeping me out of deep sleep." Object number 2, the glass of water on the nightstand. This is the one that surprises people most, because the glass of water on the nightstand represents everything we associate with healthy habits. Doctors recommend staying hydrated. You are trying to do the right thing. How could this possibly be a problem? Here is the distinction that changes everything. In medicine, when you do something is often as important as what you do. Having water available within arm's reach throughout the night creates a cycle that most people have never connected to their sleep quality. It works like this. You wake briefly between sleep cycles, which is entirely normal and happens to everyone. Your mouth is slightly dry from breathing. You reach for the glass and take a few sips. You return to sleep. 1 hour later, the bladder is slightly fuller. A second brief awakening includes another sip. By 3 in the morning, the cumulative water from these small automatic sips has filled the bladder to the point where the awakening is urgent enough to require a trip to the bathroom. That trip fully interrupts the sleep cycle, exposes you to light, and requires returning to stage 1 of the sleep architecture rather than picking up where you left off. For people over 60, the condition called nocturia, waking to urinate during the night, affects approximately 3 in 5 adults. Each trip to the bathroom interrupts whatever stage of the sleep cycle has been reached and forces it to restart from the beginning. If you are 75 minutes into a 90-minute cycle when your bladder wakes you, that entire cycle's restorative work is incomplete. Beyond the sleep disruption, there is a physical risk that cannot be overstated. Falls during nighttime bathroom trips are among the most common causes of serious injury in older adults. A hip fracture from a nighttime fall is a life-altering event. Every unnecessary nighttime awakening that requires leaving bed in a semi-conscious state increases that risk. The solution is not to drink less water. It is to drink all of your water before 6 or 7 p.m., hydrate fully and consistently throughout the day, and empty the bladder completely immediately before lying down. Remove the glass from the nightstand. Without the visual availability of water, the reflex to sip during brief nighttime awakenings is broken. The cycle stops. Helen was 74 and had been waking 2 to 3 times per night to urinate for over a year, attributing it entirely to age. When I asked about the glass of water on her nightstand, she confirmed she sipped from it throughout the night without thinking. She moved her water intake entirely to before 7 p.m. and removed the glass from the bedroom. Within 1 week, her nighttime bathroom trips had reduced from 2 or 3 to none or 1. I genuinely thought this was just what happens when you get older, she said. The simplest change made the biggest difference. Object number 1, the blinking lights from electronic devices. This is the most consistently underestimated source of sleep disruption in modern bedrooms because each individual light seems so completely trivial that questioning it feels almost unreasonable. A green LED on the router, a red standby dot on the television, an orange indicator on the phone charger, a blue light on the power strip, the illuminated display on the air conditioning unit, the white dot on the air purifier, the blinking light on the smoke detector. Separately, none of these registers as significant. Together, they transform a room that should be in complete darkness into a space with continuous low-level light stimulation from multiple directions, pointing at different angles, some blinking rhythmically, some glowing steadily, all of them present throughout the entire night without pause. Total darkness is the primary environmental signal for full melatonin production and the deepest stages of restorative sleep. Any light during the night, regardless of how dim it appears to the conscious eye, is registered by the photosensitive cells in the retina and transmitted to the circadian clock. The pineal gland is extraordinarily sensitive to these signals. Even minimal ambient light reduces melatonin secretion and shifts sleep architecture toward lighter stages. The specific problem with electronic device LEDs is that they are designed to remain permanently active. They blink rhythmically or glow steadily through the entire night without pause. Your brain, operating in its evolutionary surveillance function even during sleep, registers these signals continuously. They communicate the opposite of what your biology needs to hear to sleep deeply. They say active, monitored, not fully dark. Deep restorative sleep requires a signal of complete darkness and complete stillness. Large-scale epidemiological studies have associated consistent nighttime light exposure not only with poor sleep quality, but with increased risk of insulin resistance, dysregulation of the appetite hormones leptin and ghrelin that drives weight gain, and suppress melatonin, which has direct antioxidant and documented anti-tumor properties in its own right. The consequences of these blinking lights extend well beyond the bedroom. The solution requires less than 15 minutes and costs almost nothing. Tonight, turn off every light in the bedroom and stand still for 2 minutes while your eyes adjust. You will be genuinely surprised by how many light sources you find. Cover each one with a small piece of black electrical tape. Router, television, charger, power strip, air conditioner display. Each light source takes 15 seconds to cover. The tape costs almost nothing and lasts for years. If the router is in the bedroom, move it to a hallway. The signal reaches throughout most homes without the router needing to be in the sleeping space. If light enters from outside through windows, a quality sleep mask that completely blocks light costs $10 to $15 and eliminates the problem regardless of the external environment. James was 73 and spent 20 minutes one evening covering every blinking light in his bedroom with black electrical tape. He counted 11 separate LED sources he had never consciously registered in years of sleeping in that room. I knew there were a few lights, he told me. I had no idea there were 11. His wife described his sleep as visibly different within 2 weeks. He stopped waking in the early morning hours. He stopped needing 90 minutes to feel functional after getting up. The room that I thought was dark, he said, was never actually dark. Your action plan for tonight. You do not need to do all 5 simultaneously, though you can. The changes that require the least effort and deliver the fastest results are these. Tonight, turn the clock to face the wall. Move the phone out of the bedroom. Spend 15 minutes covering every blinking LED with black electrical tape. These 3 changes take under 20 minutes and their effect on melatonin production and sleep depth begins on the very first night. This week, switch to the pre-warm and unplug protocol for the electric blanket. Move your water intake entirely to before 7 p.m. and remove the glass from the nightstand. Empty the bladder completely before getting into bed. Track one simple marker over the following 2 weeks. How you feel within the first 30 minutes of waking, not the number of hours slept, not how quickly you fell asleep, how restored you feel when you get up. That subjective experience is the most accurate reflection of whether your sleep is reaching the restorative biological depths your body requires. Every change I have described today is free or nearly free. None requires a prescription. None requires a supplement. None requires expensive equipment. They require only understanding that the bedroom environment you have accepted as normal for years may not be the environment your biology actually needs in order to do its most important work. Margaret, whose story I told at the beginning of this video, made all 5 changes in a single evening. She described the following morning as genuinely different from anything she had experienced in 3 years. Not dramatically different, quietly, solidly different. The way she had felt in the mornings years before when sleep had simply worked. I was waiting, she told me at her follow-up, for someone to finally look at the room itself instead of just telling me to go to bed earlier. The room matters. Tonight, change the room. Leave a comment telling me which of these 5 objects is currently in your bedroom and which change you are making tonight. Your comment helps other people in this community see that these changes are straightforward and achievable. If this video gave you something useful, share it with someone over 60 who is sleeping badly and has been told it is simply part of aging. It is often not. The environment is within your control. The sleep it produces is within your control. The health those sleep cycles protect is within your control. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm Dr. Jake Taylor. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.